So here we are in Jeff Favignano's studio, lair, cockpit, whatever you call it. I don't know. Yeah.
Where it all goes down.
Yeah.
I'm making it real nice and home-like for Jim.
He's tidying up for guests is what he's doing. Mm-hmm. This is where the magic happens. Well, I need one of these lights, man.
So now you have to take your glasses off.
Yeah, I was wondering how this would work out with
set
glasses.
Them in there like that.
Uh-huh.
Once they're set in there, then you can just put the whole thing on. Yeah.
So you can do it with your glasses.
Mm-hmm. No, but
so which airplane is your favorite to fly?
Oh, the IXCG 737. I did a flight from Nashville to St. Louis last night, and it was incredible.
Oh, wow.
Another one that is really good is that Rotate MD-80. Mm-hmm. Really good. Outside of that, you haven't flown the Airfoil Labs 172, which is probably the best airplane in this.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what do you think most people are actually flying when they do this?
Oh, 737s and stuff.
They do that?
That is the number one thing people want to see.
You've got a great setup here for virtual reality flying.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
Pretty much everything you need.
Everything you need, man.
It all starts there at the internet.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me over. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I know Jeff from, a year ago? Mm-hmm. We met and did what did we do? A 182 flight.
182 flight, yep.
Yeah. He's got a pilot's license and has his virtual reality set up. So invited me over to fly it. Very cool.
Hello everyone. Today we are back in X-Plane 11 doing something different this time. We've got Jim, Mr. Captain Moonbeam here from YouTube, and we're going to fly around and in VR. This is his first time doing some well, he's done VR stuff before, but not like to this level before. You did that V-22 thing?
Yeah.
Osprey or whatever. But it was more of an experience rather than having a hands-on thing. So we're in the Airfoil Labs Cessna 172, and we're going to be flying other planes too. We're just going to start in the 172. We'll probably go into the Caravan or something, and then we'll get into the IXCG 737. And basically, Jim is a real-world pilot, as you know, and has a lot of experience in different airplanes. So the goal is to try to see how realistic VR flying is compared to the real thing. And I'll let you take it away, Jim.
All right, here we go. The question is, where is the runway? Let me find the throttle first.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
All right, so as we're taxiing down the taxiway here at Fort Myers in Florida, as far as the scale of the world to you, how would you rate that?
I'd rate it as probably a 9.5 out of 10.
Really, just pretty close to
pretty close.
Real scale.
Yeah, no traffic coming from the right,
no.
Nothing from the left. Yeah, so the scale's great.
You can make it right here if you want and take down runway 6. That'll be a little quicker.
Yeah.
I think the winds are pretty calm today.
But,
or you can do an intersection departure right here, actually, because you're taxiing onto the runway.
Yep. There we go.
There you go. Double check your trim and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Now, see, here's where I say the big deal is finding where everything is. You know?
Right.
Because you jumping into one airplane after another with the virtual reality, and it's just you gotta adjust to the virtual reality first.
Right.
Yeah, because you look at all this, and what you want to do is reach down here and touch a button, but you can't. You know, you're kind of like in the blind, reaching for another button that works differently from how the real life button would work.
Yep.
Okay, I just caught myself trying to reach for the throttle.
Right
Down here.
Oh, the actual throttle?
The actual push throttle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's how you kind of almost, at some point, fall into the virtual reality.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think the last time I was in a 172 was maybe 25 years ago.
25 years ago. Well, you've flown the 182 recently, and that is pretty similar.
Oh, yeah, that kicked my ass. That just, from one end of the room to the next.
Weren't used to that.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, you know, when you get your own setup, like what I was saying, you know, you'll get it all worked out. You realize you got to put something behind the seat. We got rollers on the seat, so it'll actually roll back when I try to push the rudder pedal. You know, take care of all those little issues that you can all, you know, get it all figured out the first time, and you're good to go.
That is true. They do have you lean for taxi, so I'm going to go ahead and add that mixture full.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, so you'll be pretty much good to go on takeoff here.
Yeah, see, this is...
Get that.
There it is.
Back there.
You know, I haven't done that in I don't know how long.
Yep. Yeah, the P factor is pretty strong when you first add the power really hard. That's like when we flew that 182T. We had to ease the power in because you get that P factor.
Yeah.
Wants to go to the side.
Yeah, and because when you're flying jets, I mean, you don't get that like that.
Right. Yeah, it's just pretty straight.
Oh, okay. Flaps up.
I think yep, they're already up.
Looks like they're up. Okay, good.
Yeah. 172, you don't use flaps for normal takeoff. Usually.
Yeah, some of the habits I have will not carry over in a positive way. That's for sure.
Yeah. And what you're seeing on the screen is X Enviro and VR don't work too well together. So what's happening is you're seeing the clouds being drawn in the left eye, but not the right eye.
Oh, okay.
So that's what you're going to see on the actual video. Kind of a pain in the butt, but it works.
One of the coolest things also is, we're flying out here looking out the front of the airplane, but I can go sightseeing. I can look to the left and look down and see everything rolling by, like I was in the real airplane.
Right.
Now,
once we get up to some altitude, we can do some steep turns and stuff like that, and actually get used to VFR. Because what I actually do is I use this airplane, the Airfoil Labs 172, and in VR and go up and do procedures.
Right.
And it keeps you actually pretty current and refreshes you pretty good.
Yeah, and another odd thing about this also is after being in it for a little while and talking to you, I feel like I should be able to look to the right, see you in the seat next to me. And so it's kind of almost a little disconcerting when I turn to the right to say something to you and you're not there.
Right. That does make sense. Yeah, and so you can hear just the sound of the engine, which is really nice for VFR flying.
Yeah.
You're pretty good here. You probably turn around to the.
And I find I'm kind of feeling around to find the throttle, but
exactly.
If you have your own, you set it up. It's always in the same place every time.
Right.
So it's not even an issue like it is for me right this moment.
But the yoke that we're using is the Virtual Fly Yoko yoke. It's a very expensive yoke that Virtual Fly sent me to review, and it is my absolute favorite yoke I've ever used. And you used the SciTech last time you came over just to mess around in the sim.
Yeah.
And this one, this one pretty close to what, a Caravan or like a Citation?
This one has a better feel to it.
Right. It's heavier and
And like we were talking earlier, in a real plane, especially a high performance aircraft, if you leveled off and let it accelerate and you never trimmed it, you would very quickly be fighting the forces of the controls.
Right, the speed of it.
As it accelerated, the airflow increased over the control surfaces. That's one thing that you don't get.
I'm going to bring it back to 2200 RPM. I can hear that RPM.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. And in a home sim setup, that's very difficult to recreate. I mean,
right now, that is.
Basically, they spend millions of dollars in the big sims so they can get that. But one day that's coming.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it is coming. You're right.
That's our airport there on the left.
All right. So just keep kind of climbing away here.
We're pretty good right now. Yeah, I think we're at like 2200 RPM.
Yeah, I just love that I can turn my head and look down at the airport.
Yeah, it puts you there.
It puts you there. It does.
Especially when you're doing pattern work.
Yeah.
One thing that what is the number one thing so far that you've had about a good hour and a half of VR time so far. We did a little bit before we started recording. And what is the biggest thing that is the con?
Well, it would be for somebody like me. I don't wear contacts. I really hate the idea of touching my eyeballs.
Right.
So I wear glasses. And it really does not work well with glasses because I found I could get them in there, but I couldn't get them situated quite right. And then eventually they would put pressure, on my nose and everything, got very uncomfortable, so I took them off. So I'm flying without my glasses right now. And so I can't really read the little numbers. And I think for somebody that wore contacts,
in VR you have to move your head physically forward and look.
Right.
Whereas you wouldn't have to do it so much.
Yeah, and that's very, very, very awkward to do. Because as soon as I move my head forward, the tendency is to push with the yoke too.
Yeah.
And so that's very awkward. So I don't do that.
All right, let's do we're at right now about 2,000. Is it about 1,000 feet? About 2,000 feet or so. So we're at about 2,000, which is a good point to start. Yeah, it's the airport there on the left.
Yeah, we're going to start down. So, I would say that the glasses are the biggest drawback.
VR.
But you were saying you can get lenses made for them.
Well, they're working towards that.
That's what they need.
That's exactly what they need.
So that puts somebody like me at an immediate disadvantage.
Oh yeah.
Because I can't glance down and say, oh yeah, I've got this speed or this altitude or something. You know, that it's very awkward.
Yeah, that highway there is a really good VFR reference for the base.
So we're at Fort Myers right now. Is that what you said?
Yep. Oh, nice.
Is, I think that's south of Fort Myers, isn't it?
What airplane have you been flying the most recently?
Well, gosh, it goes back and forth. We're going to do that pickup in the Excel, but gosh, I was flying my rear end off in the Excel, and then 5 weeks ago it stopped. It did. So you saw my channel also slow down, and let me add just a little bit of power. And if you would hear the flaps right here, so I can do first. There we go.
And it will balloon up.
Yeah. and in that period, all I did was a little M2 flying. There we go. I have just a little power here.
Yep.
Yeah. So the awkward thing for me is right this moment is, the next thing I want to do when I have the power is look for the power setting.
Oh, right.
But, I look down, and since I'm not wearing my glasses, it's like, where the hell is that?
Yeah, we're about 1,800 RPM right now.
Yeah. So
on the base, love base.
Yeah, but now I flew the Excel yesterday to Phoenix, and the winds were hellacious out there, and coming back in here.
Yeah.
Yesterday, because that's when they had all that rain coming in over the Midwest, lots of flooding and stuff like that. But it just comes and goes whenever I fly. Sometimes it's the Caravan. I did a lot of Caravan flying, but that now has slowed down. And
out of the 3 airplanes, the Excel, the Citation 2, and the Caravan, which one's your favorite?
Oh, the one that pays the most, without a doubt. Yeah, they are all very nice airplanes. Very nice. They're easy to fly airplanes, all 3 of them.
I'll get you your flaps here for final. Get ready for them.
Yeah, the M2, you got them thinking.
Yep.
That M2, easy airplane to fly. It's a great single pilot airplane. It's one of the nicest flying airplanes I've ever flown.
Very nice.
I love the Caravan also. I mean, it's got fantastic visibility, easy to fly. Coldest AC I have ever had in an airplane. It's just unbelievable how cold it is.
Now, here on Short Final, what is your feelings of this?
Oh, it's beautiful. It works great, man.
Great. That give you a good sense of height.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the Excel, it's a crude airplane. It's more complex. It's a little more to fly it, but it's still fun. In all honesty, I like all 3 of them.
Yeah.
I can't say. I just love one over the other. Okay, we'll add a little power, see if I can keep it straight this time.
I'll bring your flaps up for you.
A little rudder, thank you.
That's like we're doing touch and goes.
Oh. There we go.
Yep. Okay. And you're ready to go flying again.
Here we go. Whoops, see. That right there. You notice when I just snap that up?
Yep.
That right there is one of the differences, because without even thinking, I am so used to actually having to, in some ways, like on the Excel,
just manhandling it up.
Maybe you have to manhandle it up. It takes a certain degree of force, and this is very light.
Right.
Those forces, you don't get that. I guess you would call it kinesthetic feedback. Okay, flaps up. They're up.
Yep, they're up. I love how you look. You actually go over there and physically want to touch them.
I actually tried to touch those.
Yep.
And that's, like I said, that's falling into the virtual reality world.
Yep.
That's
something that goes away after time. After you have a lot of time on this in it by yourself, right. You get used to all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've gotten accustomed to where I can look down in the little spot on the Oculus headset, where it opens up, and I look up so I can look down where stuff is.
Yeah, let's go around for another one. Let's do another one.
All right. Yeah, no, that was a great landing. We were a little hot, and that's what happens.
Well, every now and then I get lucky.
Yep.
And that's another thing. That with that 182, I don't think I ever made a good landing in it because I always wanted to go much faster than you really needed.
Yeah, 70 knots is slow, and some flights will do 65.
Yeah, and that Caravan will slow down also. I do love the Caravan, man. It's just a great airplane.
And we're flying here. This is a 172 SP, so it's a little bit nicer than the R. Yeah, everything's all good to go. Yeah, just got a nice little tight pattern now.
All right, here we go. Just stay at 1,000. Here, come back around.
One thing that I've noticed in compared to the real airplane in the sim is you don't get that feeling of when you fall forward when you pull the power back. And you don't get that in this. Sometimes that is a lot of the reason why you can go a little too fast on your base and stuff. In the real world, you would feel the seat of the pants flying feeling.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And one thing I want to add here also, if you don't mind, you know, those guys that are out there and they're working on their private and they're working on their instrument, you know, get one of those sims for your own computer and work on your instrument stuff. Work on your instrument scan using your computer because flight time's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
That has got to be.
It's also a double-edged sword because whenever I went into flight school, I did nothing but sim flying before it, so it was hard to break those IFR habits of looking at your instruments, and not looking at the horizon out in front of you and listening to the airplane for like steep turns and turn around and point and all that.
Absolutely, and those IFR skills, it takes some work to get them down. Right, and you can also lose them if you don't use them. So you know, that's a cheap way of working on that scan. When I was a flight instructor, I worked at a flight school at a time when there was no hiring at all, and myself and the other instructors were just kind of stuck there until hiring picked up. Right. And we had a Frasca 142, and every time it was slow and we didn't have students, we would take turns getting in that 142 and just doing approaches, holding and approaches, one after another. And I honestly believe it made me a better pilot today, much better instrument.
Do you see something like this with VR and flight? Not just VR, but in flight sim in general, but the VR added to it now. Do you see this as a huge advantage going into a flight school?
Oh, I think it is. And the advantage it gives you is just learning, like I said, you know, your scan, instrument skills, you know, just basics of navigation and stuff like that. You can practice navigation in here. Now, I can't say that it will by itself be a way that you can learn how to fly. Because there's so many things about it that if you've never actually flown an airplane, you don't realize. You know, we used to say when we were instructing, we get all these people in all the time who thought they wanted to be pilots. Yeah. And let me tell you, after the first lesson, people knew that was either their thing and they loved it, or they were never coming back. I met some Russian pilots in Orlando. I think they thought I was trying to cause trouble with them. Yeah. They didn't speak English at all. And I went right up to him, and I said some things obvious. Okay, this guy doesn't understand me at all. And they were flying one of those 4-engine big monsters. It was the
the Antonov 12.
Yeah, huge, massive.
Antonov.
And so I started using sign language, but I wanted to go in his airplane and see it.
Right.
And then he kind of smiled and laughed and said he understood what was going on.
Right.
And they said, "Yeah, I'm a pilot. That's my plane down there." And we kind of hand communicated a little bit, and I got to go on their airplane and look at it. Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's like a big bomber. What they look like.
It's massive. But the interesting thing was to get up to the cockpit. You climbed a ladder.
Right. Sure
enough. You got in there. How old some of the stuff was in the cockpit, like the radar.
Yeah.
One of those radars where you look down and into this thing.
Oh,
you know, like in the old stuff. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Right. Caravan time.
All right, man. All right,
so we're sitting on runway 18 left in Orlando, Florida. Doing a lot of Florida flying because today, if we go fly up in like the Midwest or something, it's an absolute mess today. So it's low visibility and rain.
Oh yeah.
We did that earlier. So we're here.
Oh, there they are. Okay.
Yep. So sitting in the Caravan, you've been in a Caravan pretty recently.
It's been about 2 months.
About 2 months.
About 2 months since I last.
So right off the bat, you have a G1000, and this is not a G1000 setup,
so
it kind of throws you off.
Very different.
But as far as the size of it, and the feel of it, is it pretty accurate?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you got your basic 6-pack of instruments and all the instrumentation across the top. Yeah, I mean, I can't fault it at all. Now, I can't read the little lettering and stuff, but that's because I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, so I'm just flying by feel.
Yeah, and this is also a legacy model, so you don't have the cool, fancy seating arrangement back there either.
Well, see, that's right, yeah.
Yep. They have you in low idle, so I'm going to put you in high idle here.
Alright.
Find it right there. And you can hear it.
Okay.
Spool on up.
We find the throttles, brakes release.
Yep, you're good to go.
Here we go. Let's ease it forward.
We didn't set our flap. I'll get your flap for you.
They'd still take off without them.
You don't use them?
Well, I use the first setting. It's normally what I use.
Right.
It's recommended, but it's not required.
Right.
It'll fly just fine.
Hey, I guessed on the wind, and I was right.
Look at that. It's on its own. Here it goes.
And you're straight up in the air.
Yeah. Can I turn that volume down just a little?
Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt. Let me see if I can get it.
If you can't, that's okay.
No, I can. It's right here. I forgot they have an actual slider. Well, it's not very good, but it works.
There we go. Okay, here we go. And the flaps are up.
I'm going to bring it down a little bit more. There we go.
There we go. Now, let me pull this back so I don't trash this engine. I'm just over torquing the hell out of it. That was only $1 million there.
But that's the nice thing about a sim is that you can just have fun.
We pull this back a little bit.
Hard to say.
I will say the Caravan is probably I'd say one of the easiest to fly turbine aircraft I've flown.
Very, very forgiving.
It is.
It's basically a big 172 with a
that's how it handles.
With the turboprop engine in it.
I'm gonna go back to okay, we'll just
Orlando Airport is pretty big. It has all of the lakes. This is the Nimbus Simulations recently released Orlando Airport. I got it on the X-Plane.org store. It's awesome. Absolutely love it.
I mean, it looks really good. It handles good. And the more I use this yoke, the more I like it.
Yeah. The one you had before was the Cytec one. It's a very light feeling yoke, so it's hard to be precise with it.
Yeah.
Because I remember that whenever you only had so much travel on the elevator, and you would run on an elevator real fast, and it was easy to over control the airplane for the most part.
Yeah.
This one you'd be a lot more precise, and you have a lot more to dump in your lap.
Now, one thing you can't do, and I find myself wanting to do, is reach down with this manual trim and just give it just a little nudge. For just a little fine trim there.
Yeah, you're using like an electric trim.
Yeah.
Which the Caravan you fly, it has the electric trim, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has the electric trim. But and your knee is right by that the trim wheel.
Right. It's just easy to get to it.
Yeah, especially if you're going just a very small amount.
Now, the sense of speed and all that stuff, is that pretty accurate?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's some look at these little lakes with the sun shining on them. Okay, I'm going to put down a notch of flaps. I turned it in a little too close there, but that's...
I think you're fine.
No problem. Here comes setting number 2.
Yeah, I think... I'm not sure where the airport is. I'm sure you can see it a lot better than me.
The runway's over here.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah, because I know the 2 lakes out there on the approach to runway 18 right, those are right off your nose.
Yeah.
So you're in a left base. Yeah, I can see the FBO and all that now.
Now I'm having trouble telling the difference is between the runway and the taxiway. That's no problem.
Just go for the big one.
Oh yeah, I'm going to do a Harrison Ford here. Okay, next notch of flaps.
Yeah, that's the runway right there. Can't miss it. What speed do you usually shoot for in a Caravan on short final?
85.
85 knots.
But since I can't read 85 on here, I think I'm actually much slower than that.
Yeah, I think we're around
65.
70.
But I'm above stall.
Yeah. And what's weird about this output that we're getting here from the headset, it makes everything seem like we're lower than we actually are, because you were actually on the glide slope a little bit there, and you are right now. But in the headset, it feels like you're pretty high off the ground.
Yeah.
You see that windsock? So we have a little bit of crosswind to the right. There you go.
Here we are.
See, and you've got that feeling of the round out the flare down really well, better than I do in the Caravan and the Sim, just because you've flown them. And I noticed that you do your round out really smooth, and then you just flare right at the end.
Well, I hadn't even thought about it. I guess I do.
Yeah, that's what you did there.
But and probably the difference is, since I've actually been flying one, you get a sight picture out the front,
right,
where the horizon should be on this bar here, or how far below the nose it should be once you put in the flaps. And
you don't get that on a 2D monitor. You only get that in the real plane, and you get that in VR.
Right.
VR gives you that depth perception you can't get on the screen.
It does, absolutely right.
Because I'll put you in the 737.
Okay. Well, the first time I ever flew in a Cessna was hopping over to Memphis. I was a kid, a bunch of other kids, and it was the weekend. And we packed our lunches and jumped on our bikes and went to this grass strip real close to where we lived, Wilson Field.
Oh, nice.
It's no longer there. They had a bunch of wrecks there, and a guy was out there, and me and a buddy of mine walked up to him and asked if we could have a ride. And he gave us a ride and flew over to Memphis International, did a touch and go, and came back. Excuse me. My parents would have killed me if they had known that I was hitchhiking on airplanes.
All right, so we are in the IXCG 737, and you're at the jetway. It looks pretty big, doesn't it?
It really does.
So you get a sense. What does it feel like whenever you're going backwards? That's the only thing that's ever really messed with my brain. Like if you look to your left out of that window. Now going backwards, does that kind of trick your brain? Does it bother you at all?
No.
Yeah, Jim has not gotten sick even once in this.
I tell you what happens in the real plane every now and then that freaks me out. If you're in the plane and you're ready to go, or there's an aircraft next to you or something like that.
Look down there. I'm going to grab that.
Every now and then I've caught myself seeing an aircraft next to us start to move out of the corner of my eye, and it felt like we were starting to roll backwards.
Oh, okay.
And I was suddenly startled, hit the brake.
Look down. Yep, and all those lights over there on your right, that's the FedEx hub.
Oh, okay.
Over there.
So my first flying lesson was out of Memphis. It was at Lazy 8 on the north side, and we flew over to West Memphis and flew over there.
Well, then you knew this airport a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, how does taxiing feel like in it?
Well, see, I'm assuming this has a tiller. Yeah, I just see it over here. And that's what you would normally use, not the rudder pedals.
Right.
For this aircraft, so you can't really. It is what it is,
Yeah, I know that you can you can turn the tiller you can slave it to your yoke.
Oh, can you? Like driving a car, I guess.
Yep. Which would be the same thing, but actually with X-Plane you can set an axis of something like an actual wheel as a tiller. And
okay, and that would be good. Yeah, that would be much more realistic for this size aircraft.
Being a co-pilot today for Jim, it's tough in VR because where he looks is where the mouse looks, and I really wish that you could disable. Somebody said that you can disable that in the VR software. I need to look into that. So that would be nice.
Oh, that would be. Let's see that. All right, slip there. Okay. Let me try not to move my rudder pedals as we get rolling here.
No problem. Look at those for you. There we go. Engine's coming to life.
Yeah, I can't really tell if I'm assuming I've overpowered it.
Yeah, a little bit. You're fine now.
Okay.
We're not flying to the numbers or by the book today. We're just checking out VR and your impressions of it. And we are at V1 and rotate. Yep.
Okay.
And that wind.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Back up.
Whoa, look at that. Okay, pause right, you're up.
Yep. Got your gear for you.
Okay.
Now see, that's more what you're accustomed to. Pulling back on it, to get it off the ground. I mean, I don't think our staff trim was perfect on that. I don't think it was right at all. I think we had too much forward.
And let's see, let me get the flaps. There we go.
Yeah, bring that on up. I'm going to go ahead and reduce your power here so we can climb that around 180 knots or so, and I'll let you fly the pattern down here. We'll probably shoot it. We'll shoot for 2,000 feet.
There's 2,000 right there.
Yeah,
okay.
we'll shoot for that. I think anything over that in Memphis is going to be tough to get back down.
Okay, coming left.
There you go. Now, for people that haven't experienced VR, compared to flying in the real jets that you like, the sense of speed and how big it is inside there, what does it feel like in this?
Oh, I think it's good. I think it's very good.
Like you
definitely get a speed sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And it feels like you're sitting in a 737 cockpit because it's gigantic compared to the little Cessna we were in earlier.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We took the 172, then we bumped up to the Caravan, and then we moved up to the 737. So you get these big scale differences. And the 747 is the biggest one. It feels like you're in an apartment building when you're in there.
Oh yeah, I bet it is. One of the guys I fly with flies a 747.
Oh, nice.
He's a Czech airman.
Not sure what our speed is and stuff. It's hard to see it. And this airplane here is not fully compatible with X-Plane 11 yet, so we have all those problems. But you can see Memphis really good there, though. That's the FedEx ramp there with all the white lights.
And there's 27.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we could probably set you up for runway 27 even.
Well, we're actually coming across the
you're right.
extended center line. Okay, so I'm facing this way, and the cockpit now is angled that way.
Yeah. Keep looking that way.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna reset your view.
Oh, that's much better.
There you go.
Good.
It gets a little off sometimes. The little tracking camera does.
Yeah. That was a little disorienting there.
Yeah. One thing that I learned going from simulator to the real world is that sense of height you get. In a sim, on a 2D screen, you don't feel like you don't feel how high you are off the ground. And when I went to go fly in the real world, it's like, whoa, I feel like I'm way high on approaches.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't get that. But in VR, it does give you that feeling, so it's easy to be like, oh, okay, it feels like we're actually really high up here rather than screaming down below.
Well, I don't know what the speeds are for approach flaps, but I'll put some flaps in.
Your flaps are between flaps 1 and 5 on this airplane are 230 knots, and flaps 10 I believe is 225.
Okay.
And then 210 I think is for the other ones, and then it falls down from there for the most part. VREF I think was on this loadout, this fuel loadout we have, is going to be right around 130 something.
Okay.
I know it's kind of hard to read that in the sim.
Do you know what the gear speed is?
Gear speed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you're going to be fine on that. We're not even close to.
Okay, gear down.
All right. Gear down.
I'm just so used to calling for it.
That's all right.
You know, you got to utilize all of your assets, all your resources.
I am going to try to get your speed brakes armed.
Okay.
If I can here, grab them. They might be armed now. I've had a hit and miss with it, moving this, because this airplane was originally for X-Plane 10, and then you can just do a little bit of tricks to get it working. And we're going to shoot for that middle runway, 1/8 center.
All right, 1/8 center.
Got a master caution. I don't know what that's about.
Who knows?
Who knows?
We're going to be dragging the puffer cart or something with us.
I'm going to be adding more flap. I can't see what your flap setting is. It looks like it's 25 right now. There, oh, there you go.
We're going to land. There we go. I got it.
I think you got 40 now. So it's going to be a pig. And how are we on speed? Speed looking okay.
I'm going to add a little power here.
Yep. Flaps 40. I mean, it's going to be slow on that VREF.
Is it?
So I think you'll be okay. So this seems to be doing all right now. Yeah, we keep getting that master caution. I don't know what it's for. It's hard to see from this angle with all the studio lights on.
Yeah, I can't see.
That's all right. Just go by on the feel. We're not trying to fly to the numbers here today at all. Now this is a really cool approach coming into the 1.8 center, because you go right over the FedEx facility. Yeah, it shows us. I think the happy showing us low. Is it? And it's hard to say. I don't think it has.
There.
I can't even see the lights. I think those are runway hold markers. Yeah, you can see all the FedEx planes down there. Those are all of these MD-10s. Yeah, I probably want to add more power. I think we're getting slow.
Okay.
By a little bit. It's hard to tell on this angle here. I think you're okay. The 737 is all about just that slight flare at the end. Oh yeah, you got it. Woo!
Whoops.
That's a blunker.
Yep.
It comes up quick.
I shouldn't have pulled back so much for the flare.
Yeah. The power.
There we go. We'll just bring it to a stop here.
Yep. Very cool.
It is very cool. Very cool.
Oh yeah, that thing came to a stop quick. We're just extremely lightly loaded, that's why.
Okay, so let's see, I'm reaching for these throttles.
Compared to what you're used to.
Okay, I got the brake set, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, I guess people can see, you know, you can press this and bring up the flaps lever.
That helps.
So the big master caution, you know, you probably just need a 737 pilot in here to...
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
pretty wild stuff.
It really is. I mean, you could literally go through here and do the whole checklist, item by item. And then off you go, you know, and your own private...
And they have a thing that you can attach to the front. It's called leap motion, and you can use your actual hand to manipulate the controls.
Really?
Yeah, you wouldn't have to use a mouse at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And it would show your actual hand where it would be at.
And that's what you really need.
On the ramp for a push.
So let's see here.
Well, there you have it. That's the 737.
Very cool.
The ICG one. That's the Caravan and the Cessna 172.
All right. What do you want to do now?
Well, let's debrief.
All right. Let's fly up to Chicago and have Italian for dinner. I think that's what we should do.
All right. So we just got done doing the VR experience, your first time. What's the pros and what's the cons of VR?
Well, you know,
so far.
I think we hit on a lot of those as we were flying. One of the pros, well, no, I should say one of the cons that I heard about, which I didn't seem to have a problem with at all, was the motion sickness that you can get from it.
Yeah, and I think the fact that, you know, being a real world pilot, you're used to these kind of maneuvers and the feeling of it. The biggest thing to me when I first had it on was the feeling of, oh my God, I'm pulling a G, but you're not.
Right.
Like your brain almost thinks that you are pulling a G, but you're not.
Yeah. So, you know, I guess that really depends on the individual. And I would think that if you do have that problem, probably the more that you do it, the less of a problem it'll be.
Right.
That you'll get used to.
Yeah, I used to get sick in the very beginning, and it doesn't bother me at all now.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just got in here, and you're not even remotely sick.
No, I'm saying, oh,
we did have a small
time for dinner. You know,
We did have a small little USB fan to blow air on you the whole time.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
That one there, and that helps.
Yeah, okay.
It's like if you're sitting in the cockpit of a plane, you have your blowers on it as well.
Right, yeah, and we do have lots of blowers, because it gets hot up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably one thing people don't realize about these real airplanes. You generate a lot of heat with the avionics and everything, especially in the sun. And you'll hear it in my videos sometimes. In fact, the last couple, there was a lot of airflow where we had all sorts of, not Venturis, but the gaspers open and vents blowing air in there. But as far as the pros, the number one pro, which I think would be obvious to everybody involved with this, is the cost savings and training. I'm not sure it would apply to every training situation.
I think for a private pilot that wants to get their instrument rating and stuff like that, I don't think at the level VR is right now, as far as how well you can see, I don't think you can do instrument training that well. But VFR is definitely there.
Yeah.
You can do turn around a point, you can do
stalls
and all that stuff, and know what the airplane attitude feels like.
Yeah.
And then go do that in the real world.
Yeah, and you don't even have to have the virtual reality to do the instrument training.
No.
Just a basic flight sim that's capable of navigation.
Right.
Yeah, and it saves a lot of money doing that.
As far as feel on final, I know when we got slow in the 737, it was mushing up a little bit.
Yeah.
But as far as the feel of like the smaller Cessnas and stuff, when you were coming in, did it feel like the plane was pretty much alive?
It does, but in a different way. Because one thing that you would notice in a real airplane, if you were, let's say you were flying the 737 and you were coming in and it was getting slower and slower, one of the things you would notice, as well as the fact that the airflow sound would start to drop off substantially, would be the yoke would be getting heavier and heavier because you'd have to pull back more and more.
And you'll see that. Well, they get to see that in the video, but when you go back through and editing, you'll get to see just how much yoke you were giving it.
Right,
It would surprise you.
The thing about this is, in the airplane, it would be substantial. I mean, it would be getting to the point where you would be muscling.
You'd feel it the whole time.
You don't get that muscle type feel. Now, you get a spring, and I assume there's some springs or something
there's 2 springs in there.
And that is much nicer than one that doesn't have that, because that does give you, the more you pull, more resistance. And it's kind of simulating what you would feel in an airplane with the airflow over the controls.
Yeah, because when you're stopped dead on the ramp, you can just move those around like no problem.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And together.
Yeah, in fact, well, not completely, because like in the Excel, which is a large corporate airplane, but it's not. It doesn't have hydraulic controls, so we don't have hydraulics for the elevator.
Right.
If you're just sitting there and you pull back on that yoke to lift the elevator with no airflow, it takes a lot of work pulling, because you're lifting that big piece of metal and all the other workings with it manually through linkages and pulleys.
So as far as we hit the flight school stuff, the flight training part of it on there, that it would definitely help out a student pilot.
I think so. Absolutely. But
also, I mean, I think flight sims do that in general, not just VR.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because as a student pilot, you're learning the basics. As you're doing your instrument training, you're learning the basics of instrument flight. But what you're adding here is a feel. A world is being added to all of that.
And on a 2D screen on your monitor, you get that immersion sometimes. Like when you're just flying around, like the first time you came over and flew, you're like, wow, this is actually really cool. But when you put the headset on and you're sitting in that airplane and you turn the sound up and you just hear just the ambient sounds and everything, I mean, it's like you're actually there in the plane.
And it happens much faster with this. Much faster. Because, I'm thinking within 5 minutes, you start to fall into that world. Because I found myself reaching
was it jarring when you took it off?
No. Probably because I'm just a cretin and not as sensitive as other people or something.
How many years have you been flying planes?
30 something.
30 something years. So a very seasoned pilot, and there you go. You tried VR out, and it was. Did you expect it to be what it was? What were you thinking?
I wasn't quite sure what to expect, because what I thought was that the technology had not matured yet.
Mm-hmm.
There were still some limitations.
Right. Which we saw.
People had problems with getting motion sickness in it. So that's what I kind of expected. I expected, oh, maybe I'll get a little queasiness or something here, but I didn't feel any of that. But I think you would probably be more prone to that if you were doing a whole lot of head movement,
around,
or if you were controlling it and moving the screen while I was looking at something else.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense. Well, if you guys are not familiar with Jim, he is a fellow St. Louis YouTuber, and he puts all his corporate flying, makes them into vlogs and stuff, so check his channel out. It'll be in the description below, and thanks for coming over.
Thanks for coming over. I appreciate it. Lots of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Really cool to see your take on it, because I'm always blown away when I put this thing on and go flying.
Well, the thing is, it's going to get better and better
and better. Yep.
Is what's going to happen. It's not going to get worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can see this moving towards actual flight training eventually, like level DSIM kind of stuff. Can move towards that.
Well, if I can just add this before you shut it off. 2 months ago, I went to the Helicopter Association International Convention in Dallas, and I saw this last year, and I saw this year. There were a number of companies that were showing their virtual reality products for helicopter training, in-house helicopter training.
Okay.
Yeah, and they had the monitors up like you do, where the people that were in the crowd there at the convention could see what the guy in the chair was doing.
But you don't see it until you have it on.
Right. And he was doing, the basic helicopter maneuvers and stuff like that, like you would for training a recurrent or something like that.
Right. No,
so that's cool. Where they're moving. That's where it's going to.
No, that's good to hear. Yeah. Well, again, thank you for coming over. And
thanks for inviting me. Loved it. A lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Adios.
Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you liked the video, please give it a like. And if you'd like to see more of these in the future, press the subscribe button and subscribe. Everybody fly safe out there. Be good.